Hello, YouTube. What's going on, man? This is the On the Ropes podcast here with your boys, Shakil Rashid, Salman Sadiq, and Nasser Hussain. This is our first big episode, and what bigger way to do it than to be 24 hours away from a big British grudge match. It's Khan versus Brook. It's everything on the table, no titles, nothing on there, just pride. And I just want to know, what you boys think of it first of all. And my talking points to start off with would be how well are these guys conditioned at the minute? What have they got left in the tank? I want to start with you, Salman, first. How do you feel both fighters are coming into this fight condition-wise?
Well, obviously we just saw the weigh-in today, and I think they both look great, to be honest with you. I think Brook in particular looks in shape. I mean, I know some people were saying he looks a bit dry, he's looking a bit tired, but I don't know. I mean, it looks good to me. I'm not really buying that. If you look at his face, he's not. When somebody's struggled to cut the weight, you can normally tell when looking at their face that it's a bit, the eyes are a bit sunken in or the face is a bit narrow. But yeah, he looked good to me, and Khan looked pretty good as well. I have to say, probably better than he's looked in the last few fights. So in terms of the conditioning and making weight and stuff, I'd say they're both looking good. Now, in terms of what they've got left in the tank, of course, that's a different issue, and I think that's anyone's guess, isn't it? I mean, there's obviously quite a few things we can kind of discuss in terms of, who's got the best punch resistance at this stage, who's got the legs, who's lost the reflexes. I think those are things which we can't really. It's hard to really kind of answer, but we're obviously going to find out fairly quickly in the fight.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to it in the aspect that I think these guys, in particular Brook, really has the 4 rounds in him, initial 4 rounds. Do you agree with that, Nasser? Do you feel like he can probably withstand what Khan has naturally been doing for a long time? Jabbing, moving, sticking, has the stamina. He's not stamina for sale. What do you think, Nas?
Yeah, I think that's an overarching theme in terms of what's left in the tank of either fighter. So I was thinking about this earlier, and I mean, you've got to remember it's still a boxing match. It's not an outright brawl. So this expression came to my mind thinking, hang on. So this is some type of, and these are elite level fighters. So there's pugilistic intoxication of sorts. So when they render someone, unconscious, that's what's going on there. There's high level pugilism. It's not a brawl in the car park, as Brooke said, or in the pub or anywhere else. but taking that intoxication metaphor a bit further, it's how have they aged? Have they aged like fine wine, or is it stale ale, as people in Yorkshire might say? I think that's and which one has aged in which way, I think he'll be the telling theme throughout. But I mean, I think that's a good base to kind of look at all of this. Everyone's still talking about the punch resistance. Can they render the other unconscious, and how do they do that?
It's a good segue for the next theory I thought about when I looked at Kell Brook, and I look at the two fighters together, and it's can they render each other unconscious? And I look at the resumes again, and I feel like when Khan's been rendered unconscious, it has been from serious power punches. And I mean, we're talking about Canelo here. I have to go back to Canelo. This was back at a moment where he was meant to get the Mayweather fight. I think when he was with Al Haymon, he got the 2-fight deal. Then all of a sudden, it just fell apart. He says because of the fact that he already advertised the fight itself, and you don't do that. It's a rule of thumb. It's like the what the mafia would call omerta, the code of omerta. You don't say nothing. He's gone out there and he already put it out there. So that's the Khan theory. He wants to make that excuse. Nevertheless, he got Canelo. Canelo gave all he got to Canelo. You got to give it to him. He was winning those rounds, and then he just got Canelo found him with that epic boxing IQ of his. Those are the things that I think I don't see in Kell personally. Now that's the feel I have about him. His resume says the same. Who has he knocked out? I mean, Sky put together a whole compilation of his knockouts from Hector Saldivia to even Gavin, and I can't for the life of me think, has he really had the fighter in front of him, Kell, to suggest that he's got the power and the infamous power that we're looking
at? The thing is, when it comes to Khan, you don't have to be a particularly concussive puncher to really kind of, hurt him. I think even if you're a decent, if you're a decent puncher, you can get to him, and he's been dropped by fairly average punchers earlier on in his career and throughout his career, hasn't he? So I think he's definitely got, and also he's the bigger guy. Let's not not forget, throughout his career, Kell's been a proper welterweight, and right now he's a junior welterweight, isn't he? Can't even make the welterweight limit. So I think in terms of power, I think he's definitely got the power to hurt him. I'd agree he's not got the one punch knockout power like the likes of Canelo and stuff. I don't see him knocking out Khan with a single shot, but number one, he's desperate to win this fight. So I think if he does hurt him and he smells blood, he's a good finisher. He's definitely, he's a strong finisher. So I think he's more than capable of stopping Khan. I don't think he's lacking power to do that. However, I think it's just a case of, if he does hit Khan, how is Khan going to react to it? Is he going to lose his shit and just, basically balls to the walls and his ego might kind of get the best of him? Or is he going to be smart? Is he going to try and kind of ride those tough spots and tie him up and move around and just kind of let himself recover? I think. So I think I know what you mean. Yeah, Kell's resume is not great. He's not fought. You can't really say, oh, he's knocked out or he's stopped these particularly high level guys, but I think he's certainly got enough power to hurt and finish Khan, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that's the key. But for Nas, how do you feel like the game would pan out based on where they are at the minute and now how the fight can play out? Could anybody really be taken out, like from a genuine beating or a concussive power? I mean, Kell believes that he can do it, but really, what in reality will play out in your mind?
It's such a tough one, given the fact that they're so inactive. So the kind of statistical analysis and trying to extrapolate from their previous fights where they are is very, very difficult, because there's a gap. So the body of work, there was a body of work, and then there's like a 2-year and a 3-year gap on the respective fighters. So it's very, very difficult. In terms of Khan being put over, there's no getting away from that. There is a susceptibility there, and whether it's his stance, and there's a lot of different approach and ego and whatnot. It's a fragility. There's no getting away from it. Sometimes I think, bizarrely enough, the media are a bit kind to him, where they say, "Oh, it's a bit of machismo, and he's too brave for his own good." I'm not sure if that's the case. I just think he's that rattled, he didn't know what else to do, and then he goes to default, which is, sometimes it's easier when you're rattled to just kind of go storming in, and it's far more difficult to stay composed, take a knee, some tricks of the trade, survive. So I don't necessarily buy that. I'm not saying the opposite's the true. I'm not saying he lacks courage, but I don't think it's a thing driven by machismo. Going back to Kell Brook, whether or not he can hurt him, absolutely, because he's a naturally bigger guy, and there's an interesting point about the weight here, and the weight, why the fight never got made, and why it's at 149, and the hydration clause. And I mean, what's really revealing, which no one seems to have touched on in the mainstream media, is Kell Brook has basically been a big guy fighting in a little guy's division, boiling himself down, rehydrating on the night or the night prior, and putting it on guys 12, 13, 15, 16 pounds, who have 16-pound deficit. And it's just bizarre, this whole thing about, why has Amir Khan asked him to come down to 149? Well, he was a world champion at 147. What is going on? I don't understand the whole twist on the dynamics of that conversation. I don't understand. But having said that, so Kell Brook probably walks around outside of camp at 180, 184, 185 easily, and he's got a bigger neck, bigger wrists, bigger ankles, bigger calf. He's got a huge back on him. Whole dynamics is a different beast, different kind of rung of the food chain compared to Amir Khan's kind of skeletal structure. And just off the back of that, and he's got thudding shots. So he might not have knocked out notable opponents, but he had enough to keep off a beefy Sean Porter. He had enough to keep off this Terminator-esque Triple G. He had enough to keep off, I mean, albeit for 5 rounds until his orbital bone got smashed. But and he had enough to keep off Errol Spence Jr., who's huge, absolute huge mammoth man at the weight.
But however, he didn't have enough to keep off Crawford, did he? And Crawford basically hurt him with the first clean shot he landed. And so is that then a question of, fine, that version of Brook, I agree with you. And if that version of Brook was fighting Khan now, honestly, I'd say Brook all day long for me, because I just think he was much more comfortable at the weight at that point as well. But this, it's hard to really say now. Can he still take a shot like that? I mean, I don't know.
Just a quick one on that. Yeah, just a quick one on that about Crawford. Crawford has got uncanny strength at the weight. That's why he's considered pound for pound best. Yeah, he's got that whole, there's that kind of Bruce Lee analogy of, kind of a lightning rod at the end of a chain. Yeah, he's got that about him. And he has done that consistently throughout his progress. Crawford has. He has shocked people that have not been shocked prior. Going back to the likes of Gamboa, even to who else was there that he put away?
Victor Postol was a good one.
Yeah, Victor Postol. I was thinking of someone else. The name fails me now, but he's got that.
I'm with you. Yeah, I agree. But let me just put something to you then. Do you not take anything from the fact that Khan was actually able to kind of, I mean, he got rocked a few times, but he was able to take several big shots from Crawford for 6 rounds. And
I don't buy it.
You don't think there's anything in that, no?
No, I don't buy it at all. The whole kind of comparison, he did better than Brook in the Crawford fight. It's not apples for apples, comparing 2 different fruits. A, stylistically, and B, Khan was all over the place. He was coming over his feet. His legs were doing Bambi dances. And Brook, even though he was in for a shorter period of time, there were points where he looked poised. He looked balanced. He looked like he could, there's a phrase of timing going around. Brook's got timing. We'll get into that, what that actually means. And he was landing on Crawford, making him think. And yeah, when the end came, I think a lot of it was driven by his.
He was up on points. I'd say he's probably up on points until the actual stoppage.
Yeah, but Crawford's a notoriously slow starter, so he gives. Sorry, I've just got a sign come up there. Yeah, so he normally gives away a round and a half, 2 rounds, but yeah, I wouldn't read too much into that.
Yeah, I think that's quite a good analogy there. And as I say, I like the talking point there: pride before the fall when it comes to Khan. Everything comes from having good fundamentals, being focused on the man in front of you, and definitely keeping this out of being such an emotionally invested fight. It's a very hard thing to do, but when you're in that ring, you really have to focus. I mean, you can't let your emotion take over you at any point in time. But once that bell rings and you start to feel the power, and we're talking about both men here. Once they start to feel the power of each other, this is when the fight's going to definitely swing a lot. I mean, Sully, those kind of things kind of come to mind as well when 2 fighters going sort of into the latter stages of their career now, they're going to want to to know if they still got it themselves. And the only yardstick you can take is going back in that ring and fighting an opponent. When with the game plan, how does Khan come into this?
But just to kind of just touch on a couple of things with that Crawford point as well, because I agree.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think you can really compare the two and say, oh, Khan's punch resistance is better just because he was able to take more shots. Because I think another thing to look at was the fact that Brook did have to come down to 147 for that fight, and let's face it, he was killing himself to do that. That probably could have been a contributing factor to him not being able to take the shot. And then number two, he took it on not short notice, but like Dominic Ingle didn't want to train him because he thought it wasn't long enough for him to prepare him properly for that fight. So I think that's quite telling that the trainer that he's had since he's been a kid didn't think he had enough time to prepare him properly. So I think when you look at those two things in combination with everything else, then I think it's not really fair. You can't really make a comparison and say, one guy's got a better punch resistance than the other. Like, I think there's too many other things that kind of play into it to ignore it, if you know what I mean. So I just wanted to finish off. But you were talking about Khan's game plan.
The game plan itself, is what I want to get to.
You guys kind of think what you think the best game plan should be for either.
Before we get into game plan, do you think it's worthwhile just doing a quick summary of their styles, of how they actually fight, and then that could probably naturally evolve into the potential game plans, because I think much is said about their styles and it's overly simplified with just speed and timing and boxing and fighting and all these kind of mainstream labels. But I think it's probably worthwhile delving into their positives, negatives, what they do well.
Let's dive into that then. I mean, the keys to victory for both of them and the skills to victory for both of them are very well. The fight's very much poised to have one element of speed and footwork. If it's still there and if it's still good, that's Amir Khan's keys to victory. If you have Kell Brook and his timing and his accuracy and the effortless counter-attacking style of the Ingle gym being implemented throughout this fight, you have Kell Brook there, and you think you have Kell Brook winning. You could have Kell Brook's those skills itself showing how dominating he can be when he gets you in the pocket. How does those keys to victories for you sum up, how well this fight goes for either one of them? Because that to me is the most it's the intriguing part, because it a lot of the conditioning and the endurance plays the part in parts of it, but the actual skill and the technical awareness to deploy each type of skill that they both got is something that I can't really get my head around right now. But part of me feels that if I take away the emotional investment of being around with Amir Khan and knowing that he can pretty much outpunch his opponent, it's the timing and accuracy that really kind of takes over in any kind of fight that anybody that gets in the ring with Khan. Where do you feel that the skills to victory, stand for both of them?
Well, look, I mean, like
skills
you said,
play up in this fight
with Kell, obviously, there's no doubt his timing, counter punching, accuracy, precision, those have always been his best attributes. Obviously, he's got a bit of power to go along with that as well. I'd also say, for me, he's got the better boxing IQ between the two. I think he's a smart fighter. The Khan is kind of Khan fight smart, but the problem is he doesn't have the discipline, the concentration to actually do it for a sustained period. Like he'll always tend to make a few mistakes in every single fight he has. And not only that. I mean, if you look at the way Kell fought Porter, for example, it was a very educated. Like the way he fought him was in a very educated way. Like he managed to nullify Porter extremely well. As soon as Porter was in that kind of short range where he's known to do damage, he just tied him up every single time, timed him as he was coming in. So I'd say for me, like Kell Brook's probably got the better boxing IQ out of the two. Khan obviously has got the speed, but I don't know. I think his speed's probably not quite as it was, which is what you'd probably expect at the age of 35. You know, obviously you're not going to get any faster. I'd say footwork
What,
probably
what diminishes
slightly.
over time, Sully? What do you think diminishes over time? A lot more speed or accuracy or timing?
I think first of all, I think the legs tend to go. For me, I think your legs tend to give way. In addition to say your reflexes, your ability to get out, to move out of the way of a punch. Your speed, you can still maintain speed until a later age, even though it's not quite at the same level as when you were 25, for example. But I think it's more so, it's like if you look at Pacquiao Ugas, for example, that's a good example. I think that's a good example where you saw Pacquiao's hands were still fast. I mean, he's still got, that's at the age of 42, still got fast hands, but his legs just weren't there. He just weren't able to close the distance like he otherwise would do. He didn't have that pop, that explosiveness. So I think the legs usually tend to give way at this point. And that's going to be, again, a very interesting factor in this point, which is, okay, fine, if Khan can move out of the way and kind of, box and use his feet for a few rounds, as he's still got the legs to do it for the full 12, it's a big question. I don't know. I don't think he's lived a particularly clean lifestyle his whole career. That's something that usually catches up with you at this age, isn't it? So I'd say, I think those are the kind of key things in terms of who's got what. But once again, they've both been out of the ring for a couple of years, so we don't even really know. I mean, is everything still what it was? Yeah. It's hard to really say, isn't it?
Yeah, I think Kell just over a year. Over a year, 2 years. Khan 2 years.
After Billy Dib I'm fight. Not counting Billy. Sorry, I'm not counting Billy Dib. Like, no, I'm not. That for me was just an exhibition.
It's not a fight. It was a stay busy kind of contest, right? At the end of the day,
a featherweight, man.
Kell Brook's had plenty of them.
Lightweight.
Kell Brook's had plenty of those stay busies, and they do work in his favor to some degree. But I digress a little bit. But the Nas, I mean, to step in there and just look at those skills in detail. That's it's intriguing.
Yeah, I just go back to the whole boxing is pugilistic intoxication and or that whole analogy about it depends on what kind of intoxicant you are, what was your base style, what you brought to the table day one. I think that impacts how much age affects you, how much age handicaps you with the passage of time. So, for instance, if you're actually a wine, a well-preserved wine, you get better with age. If you're something else, you don't. You have a sell-by date, and that's it. And by that, I mean, if you're overly reliant on footwork, on literally darting in and out, there's, nothing beats Father Time, and that diminishes. If you rely purely on kind of punch power, but again, it's predicated on being able to get in the positions to get your shots off. That goes with time. Your power might not, but you don't have the delivery system to land the bomb. And the whole point is, if you're a well-polished, well-balanced intoxicant at the outset, you've got good lateral movement, you've got a good long-range game, you're good on the inside, you know how to tie up, you can, you can buy yourself a few seconds here and there, you can live on the ropes. Then you've got longevity, and tying that back into these two styles, Khan has a very unique style. There's not many Amir Khans. He looks like he looks like an up and down straight European fighter, but he's not. He's an Amir Khan fighter. Yeah, he's not like your Eastern European block with a wide hook. He's British Bolton with a Pakistani twist. And what he does brilliantly are those 1-2s, 1-2 blitz raids. Yeah, and then every now and then he can land. He's got a decent right uppercut on him, which he lands on the back foot against Oshin Fagan. He did the same with Maidana, little flurry hooks. But some of his performances have been purely on 1-2 or 1-2-1. Literally, that's how he's won them. Yeah, odd body shot. if you look at his key performances, like the likes of Alexander, they weren't brilliant. They were a shutout. He did perfect tactics to win. He didn't let Alexander get off, and Alexander is no kind of no average fighter. I mean, he was being talked about by Mayweather as being a champion to the throne once Mayweather retires at one point. He had wins over Matisse and all of this. But if you look at that fight, all the other shots were so wide, so amateurish. The balance was so off. And it was only because he was that young and that's quick he could get away with it. And I think the point I'm making is he can only go back to type, which is those 1-2s, and he's going to really, really struggle to try and kind of reinvent the wheel or add some new strings to the boat at this stage. I think a lot of his
just to come in. I mean, I think he fought Kotelnik with very good discipline. I thought that was a very disciplined performance.
It was perfect. That was a perfect. Yeah, perfect.
Malignaggi outboxed him real well. Didn't you know?
Perfect. Yeah. Malignaggi, Collazo, Kotelnik. What's the one that we were just talking about?
Alexander.
All of these fights followed a very similar pattern in the sense that very, very disciplined, in, out, up, straight shots, the odd body shot, hurt Collazo, the Maidana when he hurt Maidana, Kotelnik, he kept Kotelnik guessing. But they were, that's what concerns me, because that is predicated on youth, foot speed, in and out, constant focus, discipline, and having enough pop to keep the person off you. And that, with the passage of time, can and does go. And that's, I think, what the question was. And I think with Brook, I think what everyone's talking about timing, and I think we know, but there's different types of timing, isn't there? Like, everyone's saying timing. He's got a great timing. What, is he a bus? What does that mean? Great timing. For me, when you talk about Kell Brook's timing, he knows how to draw you onto shots. Yeah, that's what he does. He's got that nice kind of US style with his angle base, where he's not over his front foot, and he knows how to draw you onto the shot, literally sucker you in again and again. That's what he does, and what he does with it is, he has shots with no tell on him. He's got perfect short, sharp technique, whether it's a jab, the left hook, straight right down the pipe, the right uppercut. There's no tell on him. And they are qualities that you just stay with you, because that's refined quality. Yeah. And that's how he manages to time you with a shorter reach. He concedes 5-6 inches, and he's not as quick. There was a time when Special K had a thunderous lightning rod jab. I haven't seen that in years. Where he doesn't, but he still manages to land a jab, but the speed isn't there, but he still manages to land it, but he suckers them in. And the reason why I'm making the distinction about timing is because he's not, and this might be in Khan's favor in a bizarre way, because it's not like a triple G where he's a kind of a come forward counter attacker, a counter puncher. So he doesn't come forward, draw you in, and then get you. He needs to, his best work is kind of like on the back foot and then gets you going. Yeah. So again, I think Kell Brook will be truer to his own style. I think Khan might struggle to try and stay to what he was.
I think in this fight, though, Kell Brook is gonna. I think he will be the come forward fighter, the pressure fighter. I think he has to be as well. I think he's.
When has Kell Brook ever come forward?
He tends to kind of just take.
I would have only thought it was recently.
Center of the ring, doesn't he? And you're right. He's not.
It's only really happened recently that he's been caught in a dogfight. But prior to that, I don't think he's generally had that style in him, or he was approached any fight, especially with Domingo in his corner, to really kind of go in and have a slugfest as such. You know, he
His footwork going backwards is brilliant.
Yeah.
If he was a cricketer, he'd be a back foot batsman. Yeah, it's world class. Going forward, it's not the same. What he's got in him, he's got a good leap or a good double jab leap, and that's it. It's not a million miles away from his footwork going forward is not a million miles away from Canelo's footwork going forward. Yeah. However, Canelo's better at closing off the ring. I don't know how good Kell Brook is at closing off the ring, or if he'll just follow his man around. But with Kell Brook, I think that might be one of his limitations. That might be one that he struggles with after about 3.5, 4 rounds. If Khan's still, if it's working for him, coming forward, I mean, who's got a better footwork, Canelo or Kell Brook going forwards?
I'd have to say Canelo. The way Canelo can deceptively close down distance is unbelievable. I don't think there's even a comparison.
And for 5 rounds, universally accepted, Amir Khan was giving him a boxing lesson.
I wouldn't say for the full 5 rounds. I think by 4 or 5, Canelo was probably starting to hang like.
Still won the rounds. Still won the. I know he was setting him up with the body shot. He was leaving that in there.
He was getting to him in the body. He was landing a couple of left hooks round 4, round 5. I mean, he was. But yeah, but I know. I take your point though. Yeah, like there's no. I feel like he was up on points. Khan was probably up on points up until the knockout.
And I think that'll be a key point in terms of the footwork coming forward. Do a comparison between Canelo, who's coming with outright bombs. You know, he's a beast of a man. He'll probably walk around at 205 outside the ring. Him coming forward with his ability, his subtleties, his IQ, Kell Brook doing the same. And if you could replicate that, and then not only that, after 5 rounds, how much damage would Khan have done? Peppering Brook. What will Brook be like after 5 rounds, 4 rounds, 5 rounds, peppering him, if he's not managed to close him down and break him down a bit?
Yes, but on the flip side, Brook might be the one who's done more in the. I mean, I think this is the general consensus is that in the first few rounds, Khan's probably gonna, start fast and most likely win the rounds, and Brook will have to eat a few shots as he figures out his timing and his range and his reflexes and all that kind of stuff. But I don't know. I disagree. I mean, I think I think for me, if Khan's speed isn't what it once was, that of course plays into the hand of the counterpuncher, of the guy who's gonna look to kind of. Who likes to punch in between your combinations, because that's the way Kell Brook likes to fight. Is he likes you to kind of get off first, and then in between your shots, he like to kind of get his jab in. His counter jab's obviously very good, and then obviously now and again he'll throw the lead right, he'll throw the 1-2. So I think I think it's going to be a very cagey, cautious first 2 rounds. Personally, that's the way I see it. I think they're both so desperate to win and so desperate not to lose that they won't be taking too many risks in them first 2 rounds. I think they'll just want to feel them out, see what the guys bringing to the table, and then I think maybe round 3, round 4, that's when I see the fight start heating up and something breaking out. That's how I kind of see it going personally.
Yeah, I there's very, very difficult to disagree with anything that you've said there. This is a bizarre one. I mean, normally, like if you talk about a boxing fight enough, you start kind of formulating a visual of how it's going to play out. Here, it's like a multiverse. I've got a Doctor Strange disease here, where I can see things kicking off in parallel. That one is a definite scenario where 1.5, 2 rounds, it's just literally, I'm not giving away, I'm not conceding anything, no freebies, not giving up any real estate. And then it kind of catches fire a little bit. Or, I mean, who's to say Khan doesn't get caught cold?
I think here's another point as well, which is not being discussed. Well, it's probably being discussed a bit, but I mean, do you think Bomac's going to have much of an influence on this?
Yeah, I was looking to touch on that now, Sully. Yeah, literally. Yeah,
because is he going to change Khan's style? Can he change Khan's style? How would you expect? What would you expect to do with him? You can't really tell too much from these, behind the ropes previews and things like that.
See, just going back to the styles about Amir Khan having a very unique style, I definitely mean that, because he struggles to kind of slow the pace down. He only has one tempo of letting his arms go, and that tempo is speed of light.
Mm.
And that in itself can be a detriment. Whereas if you could just slow down and not come over his shots, and just buy that kind of IQ, and it's not. I don't think it needs a new skill. It's just kind of going back to kind of some fundamentals. If Bomac and the team, like apparently they had 3 guys looking at him, one at his feet, one at his arms, one at his head length. If that has had even 15% impact, that's great. Yeah, because now it means he can get his shots off without being in firing range. Now it means he can do enough of a raid and get back out again. But I don't know. It's a tough one, Sully. That's a tough one to answer. Not sure what impact it can have.
Even if he's bringing some slight minor changes, the truth is it's very, very difficult for those to be implemented in a big fight. In the first fight, it's not something. When a trainer and a coach get together, it usually takes 2 or 3 fights for that kind of any kind of new style to gel anyway. But I'd say that you're right in terms of Khan. He's got a unique style. He tends to do. We see a lot of the same things in every fight. But I'd say the Freddie Roach version of Khan was obviously. I'd say it was different to the Virgil Hunter version of Khan. I mean, there were clear differences there in terms of his footwork, his movement. That defensively, offensively. So I'd just be interested to see, what's Bomac bringing to the table, and can he bring anything to the table at his age in such a short period of time? Probably not, but it's an interesting one, isn't it?
It's a really good point, and you're right. Some of Khan's best performances, no doubt, were under Freddie Roach. But Freddie Roach just took what he had and kind of sprinkled cocaine all over it, and just went, "You're right, more of the same, better. Let's go for it," type of thing.
The Alex Ariza juice kind of implemented a newfound Khan, Superman Khan.
I didn't actually say, but the pre-Roach Khan again was a different version of Amir Khan, somewhat, wasn't it?
Well, yes,
yeah. Well, exactly, there was it Oliver Harrison?
That's the one.
Oliver Harrison, God rest his soul. And then they had the Cuban guy come in who had brought in Bradis Prescott after having watched a VHS on him with a 90% ratio during Ramadan. Said, "Yeah, let's have you." And then they had him all top heavy, looking like a bodybuilder. So it was the perfect storm to get your wits knocked out of your head.
Sorry, I was just going to say, look, if you watch the Behind the Ropes episode, you could see Bomac was trying to. There's a few things in there. Like, I don't know whether you caught them, but he was trying to get Khan to perhaps slow down a little bit to instead of going purely. He goes, look, he was basically saying, look, you've got the speed. Let's just try and actually pick your shots and perhaps.
Yeah, but Virgil Hunter used to say the same, didn't he? Virgil Hunter, in between rounds, used to ask him and remind him to keep his jab out. Keep the kind of Andre Ward fencing. Just leave it out. After the delivery or before it, leave it out. Just to kind of post off them, frame off them, focus on your line rather than always having to jump back out. But it's one of those. It's all great whilst you're winning. Like everything is in life, all strategy, tactics, advice, style. Everyone loves a winner. If it's winning,
got a game plan until they get hit.
Well, it's not that. I mean, the whole Tyson thing.
Good old Tyson.
Yeah, but with this, it's I don't think Khan kind of bought into the philosophy. I think we mentioned it offline, a couple of days back, that Virgil Hunter used to have him doing just shadow boxing for about 3 hours non-stop, visualizing range, timing, space, composure. But Khan's not built for that type of fight. That's not his type of pugilism, unfortunately. I know he says he's 35 and he's more mature now and he has to rely on his skills and doesn't want to go in there and amplify the punch by running into him, then maybe. I mean, it's not. Is he capable? Of course. He's a world-class athlete. Of course, if there's anyone with kind of enough ability to learn and glean and develop under the tutelage of someone like Bomac, why not?
Yeah, one thing.
This is the last. It's the last note I wanted on. It's the last one I wanted to note on Bomac before we kind of keep this going. it's Khan, as you said before, Naz, like he's got that volatile edge to him, and there's certain types of coaching skill and style that do blend well with Khan without having to go to the technical edge of it, and that's having a father figure in your side, someone who has a paternal kind of leadership when he wants to coach you. I feel like Virgil did have it, but I don't think he adopts it in the way that Bomac does. I heard loads of different things in that camp that they put him through, 3 weeks of hell that he wanted to come out of. He couldn't get up in the morning. These are kind of things I didn't hear from when he was training out in Union City in California with Virgil and Virgil's team. This is the change that I feel that someone like Khan needs. He needs that wake up call. Some people need, the old saying of some people need a kick up the backside sometimes before they start getting into gear. This is the kind of thing I feel like someone like Khan needs for the wake up, for the promise of delivering on what we talked about. This is the kind of leadership we need. Someone like Bomac in there, all of that really does play into Khan's favor, in my opinion. Is that something that plays into the game and the way that Amir will approach this fight?
From my side, look, I think they're the basics, and that's what you get from off the all this TV coverage, whipping them up into shape, like a drill sergeant-esque, wake up and do this and whatever, and really kind of putting them under the cosh. Yeah, I mean, that has its place, but I don't think that's where Amir Khan lacks. I don't think we've ever seen Amir Khan gas after 8-9 rounds. I don't really see that unless he gets hit. You never hear of Amir Khan being in any particular camp, whether it's with Roach or Virgil or anywhere else, where he's being outdone by training partners or other people in the stablemate. He's always outrunning them. He's always doing his strength and conditioning. We're always talking about how he could have been a world-class runner. I think he's got that in him. He might have needed it, which is good, but I think the real secret sauce will be in those 10-15%, if they can just make him hold his, add that hint of composure in between shots, not get greedy, put the 1-2 in and kind of back out. But it's got to be done at a different level. I don't think, we talked about Kotelnik earlier and Alexander and stuff. I don't think that'll be enough, because he still got hit in those fights, and if he opens himself up in a similar way, I think that could be it.
It's a fair point, and that's the kind of things that we have to we have to be prepared for. I mean, emotionally invested in Khan myself. I feel that I totally agree with what you both have said about how Khan has lived with these kind of fundamental aspects of his gameplay, and that's what really kind of worries me at night. My brain's so focused on how this fight's going to play out. My heart's sinking at the minute because I just generally feel that Khan's gonna make that little simple mistake somewhere in between, and that's Kell's for the taking.
Can I just say a quick thing as well? Just random, but
yes.
I've not seen a single frame of footage of Kell Brook sparring.
Oh, I mean,
have you seen footage of Khan sparring?
Yeah, against Boubacar Saleh. Yeah.
Okay.
I think he had a guy called John Tane. He had a guy called John Tane from Scotland. He's about 5'11". He's just coming up in the ranks. Scottish geezer. He kind of noted the power of Kell, and he said he's got a lot in the tank. I mean, yeah, that it was as simple as that. But the way he was trying to, the way that what they're focusing on, and I believe Dom is trying to focus on this, is the closing down technique that you earlier mentioned, both of you, that like people with very high boxing IQs like Canelo have only really done to someone like Khan, and put him in that place that he doesn't want to be in, right on the corner, back in the ropes, not being able to move from strafe to strafe. I don't know if Kell's got that. I don't know. I don't think he has, because we're talking about a gas tank here as well when you talk about Kell Brook. He's got enough for maybe 1, 2, 3, 4 of those rounds to execute what Dom really wants from him. But really, for the long run, I can't see Kell doing that in the long term. I think he needs to really put him out on his feet, by or on his back at least once or twice in the first 4 rounds. So he's really got to come out swinging, Kell. That could fall into the place that they want to be in. Like Bowman wants to be in a place where, you know, he's in the 6th round with Khan, and he's wiping him down, giving him a bit of water, telling him to go out there and box his head off. That's where I think Khan's going to really have that form, that he's going to roll back the years and give us another Kotelnik performance. But it's just where my heart is right now. It's sinking. I can't feel that it can go that far. I guess we got to get to predictions now. Boys.
Funny, you know, when this fight was announced, I wasn't even that particularly excited about it. I was like, yeah, whatever. You know what? They're both past it. They should, if they really keep saying, "Oh, it's for the fans. It's for the fans." The fans wanted it several years ago. If you really wanted to give it to the fans, fight when you're world champions. You're just giving a, you know. But having said that, Sky Sports have done a tremendous job, because I have to say,
big up Sky Sports.
Up until about 2 weeks ago, I was probably like, yeah, okay, fine. You know, it's going to happen. Like, it should be a good fight. But now, I'm pretty pumped, man. Like I can't actually wait. Like as you said, pretty nervous at this particular moment in time. We're literally 24 hours away from it. So yeah, big up Sky Sports. They've done a good job, I have to say.
Big up Sky Sports, Boxer, Ben Shalom, Savage Dan, the whole team.
You were saying about sparring footage. To be honest with you, I think this fight is that big for Kell. He's so desperate to win it. I feel like it's probably more important than his kids, you know, on that kind of level. The way he's always kind of been chasing it. I just think they don't want to give him any possible advantage whatsoever. So I just think that they just, you know what, I don't think they've released anything, because they just don't want to they don't want to give him anything, basically. I think that's what it comes down to.
Yeah, I was just wondering what it's like once you've had fucking operations on both your orbital bones. And what do they, because I know Engel Jim
Sheffield Steel in there now, though.
Yeah, chocolate brownies.
As he was saying,
Steel.
I don't know, man. This guy,
that face-off was one of the funniest ones I've ever seen. Just for the record.
Oh yeah, on that, throughout the entire thing, what a load of drivel. I mean, you know, these.
Yeah, let's go into the media and the hype a little bit. I mean, this is something that
it was like watching a comedy more than anything.
Right, yeah. And I just can't believe like some of the hype that was blasted out here, including the racial slurs and the homophobic vibes coming off. I think Adam Smith was pretty upset with that. You know, how are you as a viewer were looking at that?
Let's get this straight. First of all, nobody gives a shit about any of them things, right? Because unfortunately, these two guys are not the flipping platform for a moral compass. No one cares.
Exactly. Yeah.
And guess what? There was a racial slur. And guess what? There was a homophobic slur. Nobody cares. Like, we literally just saw Adam Smith and Ben Shalom going, just leave it out, boys.
I mean, I still leave it Papa Dom another day, then. That's fine.
This is not part of the corporate code. But look, they did their best.
They just play mind games, aren't they? I think that's what it is. Just playing mind games with each other.
It's mind games. It is what it is. But and it's, I suppose, at the time that we're living in, as long as you can get a sound bite or a meme or a TikTok thing or whatever it is, that's more than enough. But actually, what a lot. I mean, they made Carl Froch and George Grove look like poets. I mean, they were outright philosophers compared to these two. I mean, what they should do is just confiscate their mics and not let them talk. Terrible.
It was embarrassing. Yeah, agreed. It was just embarrassing. But I think the funniest part of it was Dom Engel winding up Bomac. I think that was the part which I was probably found
that was shocking. Yeah, definitely.
Bomac, do you know what? He just bit hard, didn't he? He didn't.
Yeah. I don't personally think the American boys are the master of ceremonies, but Dom takes the mic. Dom takes the carrot. He's been there with Kell since, you know, forever, and when it came through from the Errol Spence fight and the hype surrounding that, I knew Dom was going to come deliver something funny, and that was comical gold. Comical gold.
Got a lot of love for the Winkerbank gym and the institution that is the Ingle family. You know, God rest his soul, Brendan Ingle and Dom and his siblings and what they've done, you know, all the way from Harold Bomber Graham to now. It's unbelievable institution. Dom's the kind of latest face of it, but long may it continue. And Dom's an interesting character. It's a bit of a Marmite character, and he likes it. I think he deliberately takes off the pressure from Kell Brook, realizing Kell Brook's not going to maybe not hold his own or struggle articulating himself. So Dom tries and absorb some of that himself. But I think
it's not the wittiest. It's not the wittiest guy, is it, Kell Brook? Let's be honest.
He's not. But then, having said that, Dom's doing his job. But Dom does talk a good game. I mean, he really talked up. Was it Liam Walsh not so long ago saying he'd absolutely smashed Chris Eubank Jr. Was it Liam Williams? Sorry. Just a couple of weeks ago, saying Chris Eubank Jr. had no chance and all of this. So he can, depending on which way his bread's buttered, he can sing a certain tune.
He can play the game. He knows how to play the game. That's for sure. For sure.
Yeah.
I think it's just all part of it, isn't it? Like it's just,
it's all part of the game. It's all part of the mind games, and we as boxing fans soak it in, drink it up, and we love it. We love it to some aspects of it.
Moving on a little bit. Then, did you guys? I mean, did you take anything from the weigh-in today? Are you surprised?
I would like to think that
better or worse than
the focus. Well, I feel like he is mirroring or he's shadowing what is coming out of the gym at Colorado Springs with Brian McIntyre when it comes to Khan. He is looking very focused. He's looking very poised. I think he's not in the mood for like Crawford was. Post weigh-ins, he's never generally in the mood to have a conversation with the media, the press, even though he is, obligated to do so. He doesn't ever really try to kind of look at his fighter again and look him in the eye and try to goad him into different things. I think that was all ended. Khan took that Kat's sentiment and he's rolling with it as well. I think Kell really wanted to. I think he wanted to prove something. Kell obviously wanted to prove that dropping down to these weights is still, good work. It's good, hard work for him, but he's done the work now, and he wants to show that he's ready for business, ready for war, and that's what I got for it.
Yeah, I mean, both of them made the weight fairly easy by the looks of it. I mean, if anything, people were a bit surprised at Kell. I think he came in at 148.5, something like that. So it's comfortably inside, and that was probably a bit of a shock. But I think for me, the one thing I did potentially look at and think, oh, okay, that's interesting, was as soon as they faced off, Kell straight away started kind of mouthing off and started, he was the first one to just kind of get into the verbal. So, I mean, was that a bit of nervous energy? Does he think he's a bit, maybe he's not really used to the limelight and the big crowd and the circus that Amir Khan, obviously he's been having these big fights his whole career. So do you think he's just maybe feeling the pressure of it a little bit more?
Just to confirm on that, it was 149 catch weight limit. Amir Khan came in at 147.3. Kell Brook 148.3 pounds.
Right. So I mean, I think they both look good in terms of like physique and all of that. I think Kell's always had that kind of, he's always had a pretty kind of, solid physique. So he was always bound to look good. But that obviously that doesn't really tell you in terms of what the fight is actually
what he had to go through
left in him,
exactly.
and what he's got left in the tank.
That
just making a big issue about the weight. We're just a bit curious as to how
just with those results, just with the results that they came in. How big is that impact going in for those two fighters? I think not much I don't think it's much impact for Amir, but with Kell, he's had to do it consecutively after blowing up where he usually is about 175. On top of that, he's got his rehydration clause limit. It's speculated to be 163 pounds for tomorrow. Is that the rehydration clause? We've seen it. I mean, I've only ever seen it once over with Mayweather Canelo. You saw a performance impact there. I mean, guaranteed it's money made. But where do we see the rehydration clause fitting in? Are we talking about again the rounds that are going to be accomplished by two fighters here? Whether that's going to show up in the fight, or is the rehydration clause something that really won't make an impact to the outcome of this?
Bout? I mean, I know there was a little bit of confusion about it, but I think it's in there. But is that the morning? It's in the morning time, as far as I understand.
The next morning,
the day of the fight.
You can't be over 163 pounds, either fighter.
I did actually see an article in the Sun today, which is probably a lot of bollocks because it's the Sun, where they were disputing at what time in the day that weighing would take place, and I think that obviously Brook's team they wanted it to be in the morning, I think, and Khan's team wanted it to be a lot closer to the actual fight time. I think they were saying 4 or 5 hours before fight time. So, like I said, it was in the Sun, so I wouldn't pay too much attention to it. But it was just something that I caught my interest.
It's an interesting talking point, though. You know, if we work around that subject matter at this time, what's the rehydration clause? Because we can't avoid this conversation as such anyway. It plays a very important factor in the fight. If a rehydration clause is abided by, and I'm talking about more Kell here than Khan, what kind of impact does that have, you know, in the way that this fight plays out as well?
From my side, Jack, when I saw him weighing in today, Kell looked better than I thought, but I thought his legs looked shot.
So interesting point there.
I had a contrary view to most.
I didn't see that personally, but okay. I mean,
yeah,
maybe
he looked very, very drained from his legs compared to normal, or certainly that's what I got. I know there was everyone saying, "Oh, his skin texture is not matte. He doesn't look particularly dry." He looked drier to me the day prior, so but he didn't look great to me, and he was
very shredded, wasn't he? He was definitely.
He's always shredded.
Shredded.
Kell Brook is always shredded, and then you get to a point in that pre-hype where they show him and Dom touches his flipping obliques or his eight pack and says, "Look at this." But he always looks like that, whether he's fighting at 160 or 147. That's what he looks like, and that's just his genetics. I definitely, I've got to admit, that's just something that came to mind. I mean, with Khan, I don't know if you noticed or not, but when they squared off and they both lifted their arms up, Khan only lifted his left arm up. Interestingly.
Right. Damn, this is attention to detail. This is why we wanted you on here, man.
Yeah,
I was wondering if it was a comical pun or analysis. Yeah.
No, it's not. I don't. It's neither. He's actually got. His left bicep's bigger than his right bicep, and with people who speedy jabs, that is sometimes the case. And I don't know if they've overworked it or he was kind of a bit about the disparity or something. But have a look. There's nothing of him doing as usual. But I've got to admit, yeah, he looked on point again. But I think they both will feel the pinch this time around. And Kell Brook, I think they were talking about, he had a mini camp beforehand and it's all fine. I mean, what a load of fucking bollocks that is, right? Because he looked like a balloon when they kicked off the presses initially.
It's true. Yeah.
So I don't know whether they keep
mind games. I think it's just all mind games. You're right. He looked like a super middleweight.
He looked like an absolute balloon. And so they made out, don't worry, and it's all happened gradually. Look, apparently he's had a nutritionist for the first time ever. I mean, you hear this in every camp as well. What the fuck does that? What, he's never had a nutritionist? Come on.
Yeah.
Someone I honestly know that Greg Marriott's been with him since, Golovkin, and we're going back to 2016.
Well, there you go. I think, unfortunately, for the camp and the boxers and all their team, because they get bombarded with questions and questions and questions, they need some ready-made responses. And one of them is, for the first time, I've done sit-ups. For the first time, I've worked my neck. For the first time, this is just a load of tosh, right? But I and the whole rehydration thing, 163 doesn't sound so bad from 149, but Kell Brook is notorious for going up 12, 13, 14, 15 pounds overnight. And I think against Golovkin, which was at 160, he only came in at 168. So he only hydrated up 8 pounds. So if it's at 163, I think that'll be fine, and I think they're fine with it because I don't think it's not possible for him to put on anymore, and if he does, it'll just slow him down.
That's the key thing that we wanted to. I wanted to kind of elaborate on was that that kind of way to balloon up to that weight. It will have the side effects and the consequences there.
I think the 163 rehydration cap, that's a misnomer. It's a bit of a red herring. I think the points here are first of all, is that actually the case? Is it in the bleeding contract? Nobody seems to know.
I believe it is. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
it
I
is.
mean, the sources to say that it's not, from Who Better Than Ben Shalom, the promoter, who generally likes to hype the show up, and he wants to kind of, he's all about trying to take over Eddie Hearn's shadow. So, let's not take anything from him.
Okay.
But
well, if that's in there, in that case, I think the damage is getting down to 149. That's it. I don't think they're going to go above 163 anyway.
Yeah.
So I think that's a bit of a red herring.
You might be talking 3 or 4 pounds, perhaps, that Kell Brook, could potentially have come in on the next day. But yeah, I don't think like you said, I don't think it's too much of a massive factor going into this fight.
Because the jump's too far, isn't it? In order to like get to to the 168s, etc. It'd be too far a jump, and it would really cost him on his total performance and his total, approach to the fight, and that is a very key point.
Because you're not going to rehydrate your cells, you're not going to rehydrate your muscle fibers. It's just not going to happen. You need to get your essential waters back in. Some of your cells are inflated. You might look a bit juicy, but anything more than that, it's excessive. Your body's like, what the fuck are you doing to me? You've literally drowned me overnight. Why have you pumped me up with so much water? What's going on? So I don't think that's the answer for him.
Well, it's basically 15 pounds. You can put on 15 pounds from the weigh-in to the next morning. I think that's fine, isn't it? I don't think that's a problem. So
yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
and I think
I wouldn't
that's
make too much of a thing about it personally.
No, it's interesting that it's there, and I think it has been placed in favor for Khan. I also heard rematch clauses were only for Khan. Kell Brook does not get a rematch clause.
I reckon Khan put it in because when he fought Canelo, he saw a clear weight advantage to Canelo when the next day of the fight. He said it before where he looked at Canelo on the day of the fight and he was like, shit, he's a lot bigger than I thought he would be going into the fight. And I think Canelo probably must have gone up to about 175 pounds or maybe close to 180 on the night of the day of the fight, and then he just realized this is a problem. So I think he's just done it to protect himself.
But
what happen again? Why, that's it.
Why not? Why not? There's this default setting in which, from where the conversation begins, the likes of Johnny Nelson and others, they just start it off with this kind of
Johnny Nelson, man. Honestly,
he's been an absolute.
It's this
so biased
view.
He's been a thorn in the whole media hype, where he's literally been a.
Yeah, you might as well turn the language and effectively say this. Kell Brook's lying. He's not a welterweight. He's a flipping light heavyweight. And why won't you fight him at light heavy? That's literally, do you want to go at 168? What do you want? Like, literally, that's the conversation. But which one is he?
Exactly.
It was funny. I thought it was funny in the weigh-in show where I think it was Matthew Macklin who was also on the panel was saying, "Oh yeah, I think Kell Brook, it looks a bit dry to me." Like he's looking, his legs and everything is looking a bit dry, but Johnny Nelson's like, he looks like a racehorse. Look at him. Like, do you know what I mean? It's just he wouldn't accept any kind of negative opinion whatsoever on Kell Brook. It's like, no.
It was literally before the weigh-in, so the days before on fight week, that he was saying draining Khan is like cheating. It's like Amir's cheating Kell out of a win. Yeah, by literally draining him. He has been very much the thorn in the whole of the media scrutiny, but he has been known for a long time to be a biased pundit. He's always been very biased in his punditry, and it's very much stems from where I feel Sky have actually put him in there for that to purposely draw people in for the controversy of his comments. And
the thing is,
at the end of the day, we can't really take what he takes seriously. So
I can't really fault him for being biased just because, look, he's known Kell since he was a kid. He's from his gym. He's from his ends. It's his boy. It's a very, very close relationship. Of course, you can't expect, he's going to be biased. But I just think it was probably like Sky probably just shouldn't give him as much airtime. That's what I'd say. He's got too much to say about it, and we all know he's clearly anti-Khan. That's it.
Well, definitely. He'd probably be the one that drinks Kell Sweat if it wasn't for Dom training. So
that's just
naturally
disgusting.
then.
By the way, I can't believe he actually did that. You know, that's just disgusting. But yeah,
I don't think he did. I don't
Pissed
think.
tomorrow.
I don't
You
think
think it was-
Dominic.
I hope not, man, because it looked.
You don't
quite
think
legit.
Dom
I don't know
did?
whether
Sorry.
you've seen. I don't know whether you've seen the thing. It looked pretty.
Have you
legit
seen
to
the
me.
video?
I've not seen. I've seen it where he rings the t-shirt into a glass. I've not seen him
And
drinking.
He
but
downs the
my-
glass.
my-
He downs the glass.
Before
My
you
gut-
actually,
My gut feel is he's not done it. It's not. I can't imagine Dominic Ingle doing that, to be honest.
Have you seen the video, Shaq? Have you seen it?
I've seen the video and it seemed
It
pretty.
looked pretty
Yeah.
legit to me.
Pretty
It looked pretty
legit, yeah.
legit,
I think it looked pretty
Check it out,
concise,
guys.
like
You know
that.
what? You know what? Check it out, and let us know what you think.
Nothing against
afterwards.
Yorkshiremen, nothing against Yorkshiremen, man. It's just the Sheffield lot. They're a little bit nuts.
I just whether you like Dominic or not, he's got a certain kind of spine about him, which I like, and it's not. I can see him playing up on it or doing some kind of camera trickery, but carrying out with that, I don't think he'd be no son of Brendan Ingles. It's just a bizarre thing. I think he might do. He might do it as a pantomime thing. But look, I mean, it's a good little segue. I completely agree with Sully there about the likes of Carl Froch, Johnny Nelson, Mac the Knife, all of these guys having a corporate line from Sky Sports that they've got to adhere and fall in line with. But under enough scrutiny, under enough stress, under enough airtime, they give away the game. And Johnny Nelson's definitely giving away the game. I don't fault him. Part of the Winkerbank family. You've got to take care of your own. Fine. But my God, he's tried his utmost to try and be objective and balanced, but he's given away the game. I think Carl Froch has done a better chance, and Carl Froch is no friend of Amir Khan's. He's done a better chance of trying to be objective in more recent, transcripts from him. But look, let's just kind of deal with this as well. The whole unjustified hate that Amir Khan gets. Because it's a fucking load of bollocks. Like he literally, I mean, it's just bizarre.
Preach, talk about it, man.
Yeah.
This is the thing. It's come from a point, and it's come to a point where I don't know where I can't actually pin it to a certain area of time in his career. I actually felt like, when he came through with Frank Warren after his Olympic, his Olympic, success. He's gone through the amateurs. He's gone up into the Frank Warren years, and dare I say it, he was really hitting the lightweight division, with vigor. And then along comes, Mr. Colombian, Brace Prescott to silence him and start the critics. When he rewired himself and actually revitalized his career again through going to California, getting in with Freddie, and becoming this attacking and vibrant new Khan, it's when it's America that started to really embrace him again and start saying, we really see Amir Khan being a top 5 contender in the light welterweight division. He became a guy that Bradley, the likes of Timothy Bradley were running away from. We're talking about also Marquez wanted a fight. He wanted to fight with Marquez at one point. These guys came up, and that was the height and the pinnacle of where I felt like Khan was gonna shoot to the stars and get the Mayweather fights, and that was the game plan once he, Oscar, Richard Schaefer, and all them boys really much, done him proud. It was then after Lamont Peterson that I felt, for me, that's where it started to the wheels were starting to fall off a little bit again. People were starting to come in again and say, oh, he's not committed to the career anymore. He's not committed to the sport. Where does he go from here? Does he have another angle like he used to? Can he get another angle? Is he still a big name? Is he still a big draw? I'm tied in two minds as to where it happened, where the wheels started to fall off. But I feel after watching Lamont Peterson, I felt that there was something there that we can all kind of claw onto as a milestone in which he sort of changed, or his career went into a different avenue. And that's where I feel it went a bit weird, and that's what's driven this. But also the biggest thing that can drive your your popularity is if the media hype and the way that promotion is driven can keep your name on top of the rest and keep you on the A side, as we say. We've always had Kell Brook and Eddie Hearn, when Kell was up in Frank Warren's stable. He's always been taking this hard road round to the amateurs, and then through Frank Warren's, countless opponents that we can define as the road sweepers of this boxing world. Have we ever? This is where it comes down to. I mean, like, a lot of people will slander your name if you are not taking the fights that the fans want to see. And for years, he always had Kell behind him. I mean, a lot of people. I mean, you can't say that Ricky had this problem. I mean, he had Junior Witter behind him, but then as soon as Junior Witter started to, dwindle after the WBC loss to Bradley, that was not even a problem for him anymore. But with Kell, his career was, I think it was maintained to a T. Before he even decided to steal Eubank's thunder and take the Golovkin fight, he was always protected and saved from being in some very hard places in his career that he could have gone. He went to 34 and he went to 33 and he was at 32-0 before he met Sean Porter for the IBF title. So we're talking about, a lot of people don't even have those kind of careers. They can't go that far and not really face a worthy opponent. No disrespect to Matthew Hatton, but look, it's just not really happened.
In terms of success, there's absolutely no doubt.
Just on your point, that Sully, is just that I would just to clarify what I'm saying. My point was that it's been Kell, I think, and it's Kell and the Eddie Hearn spin machine that really kept it going. That's why, in terms of slandering Khan's name, that's where it's all bullshit, because you've had individuals there always attacking Khan. And if we know about the history of Eddie Hearn and Amir Khan, going back to the McCloskey days, that's he's always been the antagonist to Khan's career, whether we like to know it or not, or whether we can see it or not. It's been Eddie Hearn. It's been the promotional spin of Eddie Hearn trying to get out of, not having Amir Khan in his stable. And look at the fight as well. Look, there's no sign of Eddie Hearn at all in this promotion. He doesn't even want to be part of the promotion. He doesn't, because he's trying to.
That's not his choice, though. I think that's not out of choice. I think he'd love to be.
But he wasn't chosen. That's the problem. This fight could have been done on Sky when he was there, but there's a big reason why it's been done on Sky without him there, because there is a lot of beef between them.
I think personally, you're avoiding the more kind of obvious reasons why there's so much hate for him, which is, let's be honest, he's British, he's Pakistani, he's Muslim, and unfortunately, there's a lot of racists out there, and that's obviously an issue. Whether you want to admit it or not, there's just the society we live in, isn't it? Like, it's just part and parcel of society. But the truth is, though, in addition to that, he still gets a lot of hate from his own community as well. So it's not exactly like he's just being hated because there are a few racists out there. It's just, and I think part of that is down to the fact that, all right, he has done a few stupid things in his life, no doubt, but you're telling me that most people haven't. If you give someone at the age of 22, if you chuck them in LA with millions of pounds, boxing world champion, you can't tell me that most people wouldn't take advantage of that and do some stupid shit, because I probably would. I don't know what, I'm sure you guys probably would.
That's always there.
I agree with Sully. Sully would definitely do some stupid shit. But look, on a serious note, look, he was a baby and he was put onto the world's spotlight like an absolute baby. And he's lived in that fishing bowl, lived under a magnifying glass. Each and every aspect of his personal and professional life has been scrutinized. I don't think we can comprehend it, really.
True.
And then, so it's kind of, when you think of it in those terms, and when he was the nation's darling, when he was wearing the British tracksuit, and his dad used to come adorned in a three-piece Union Jack outfit, waving the flags and representing the country, and rightly so, and all of this. David Cameron came to see him. and it was all happy days. And then you're right. I think the two key things that happened with Amir Khan were he got knocked out by Bradis Prescott at the MEN, and that was just it didn't for whatever reason that was like a free for all. So much so that he up sticks and went to LA, went to the wild card. Ocean Fagan, Marco Antonio Barrera, let's not forget, and then Kotelnik. And then guess what? He's back in favour. And half the people that came to watch the Barrera fight didn't come to watch him. They were hoping Barrera does a number on him. Yeah. I know there was a head clash and whatever else, but my God, if you've got a Marco Antonio Barrera scalp on your record, you don't care how it happened. And then the bit that I slightly disagreed with earlier, where again that he kind of fell out of favour, was the Garcia loss. I think with the Lamont Peterson, once the weird scoring and the guy with a hat and all of this and the two foul points came off, the weird refereeing for pushing and all of this, I think once that came to the fore, and then also Lamont Peterson got done for testosterone, taking testosterone tablets or something or another after the event, and he actually got struck of that title. The only problem they did there was A, he lost on paper, and B, contractually, they never protected one of his titles when only one of them, he was a unified champion at that point, and he gave away a title due to lax contracts. Yeah. It was the Garcia fight where he'd lost. And again, Garcia, he was outboxing Garcia. If you see Garcia's face after 3 rounds, Garcia was marked up. He was out jabbing him, getting off on him. And not to make excuses for Amir Khan, in the build-up to that, he only had Freddie Roach in his camp for about a third of the camp. Freddie Roach was jetting off to Philippines with Numero Uno, Mr. Pac-Man. And then you see in the build-up to that fight where Khan was just wailing away at fighters, and he was literally like holding his own and just trying to do all this macho stuff. But so there's a consistent theme here. Amir Khan loses. We hate him. He's the devil incarnate. Burn him at the stake. Amir Khan gets some snowballs, progresses, and he becomes a kind of media darling again. He loses. We hate him. And it's massively disproportionate, unjustified hate.
I feel that's taken away the aspect of, for me personally, that looks like someone who really wants to fight with the best. He really wants to fight with the best. He's going in there, organs blazing. I think that should be commended. I think the one thing that can't be commended is when people look at that and twist it around. Do you understand? Because I think they're twisting the narrative there. That what you're saying is when he got knocked out here, he got knocked out there. Who's been doing that the most? Eddie Hearn, Eddie, and promotional attackers who have come towards him.
You're 100% right. Shaq, just to cut one of your other points about where Kell was, where Amir was. Why the hell would Amir Khan fight Kell earlier? Where Amir's taking on all the risk, Amir's getting all the reward, and then Kell says, "Can I have some of it, please?"
But tell that to the fickle casual fan who doesn't understand weight divisions. They don't care about weight divisions. They want to see the fight that the fans want to see in it. And that's all they care about.
Not only that, but Khan himself, I think when Kell Brook fought Sean Porter, before that, he said to him, if you win a world title, and then I'll fight you. And then he said, beat this guy, and then I'll fight you. Then, which Kell Brook went and did. And then afterwards, obviously, it didn't materialize. He still kind of fobbed him off, didn't he? So
that as well, I can't take that very seriously, because he said the same thing on ringside when he said, "Oh yeah, fight me after. I'll fight you after Muffy Hutton," and he denied it, and Khan denied it. Those are the things you can't like genuinely believe.
But anyway, but look, but I don't think that's a reason to hate on someone anyway. I don't. So what? I mean, it happens.
But the spin. No, I'm saying it's who spins that kind of narrative that slanders someone's name that can actually start to build up this hate. We're asking where's this hate come from? It comes from people twisting and slandering the name of Amir Khan, the team of Amir Khan, his background, everything, when he puts his life, and also it's also, like you said, both of you have said it, I've said it as well, it's his own doing as well. When it came to the latter half of his career, he's getting on social media, and he's getting on Twitter, and he's getting out there, and he's putting himself out there for other people to kind of, and exposing himself to doing unsavory things. But at the same time, this is the kind of issue we have, is how much of it, to what degree is he doing it to his profile, and to what degree are other people, are his negators, his haters, are not using that against him to support this narrative that Khan ain't what we want. Yeah, as the British savior of boxing, we want someone else. We want it to be a certain, could potentially different race. All of these things come into play, and that's where I feel his name has been slandered, because he is of a diverse background, ethnic background. First off, and we can all agree that will always play a secondary part of anything that when it comes to representing Britain at any kind of sport. Yeah, he still hasn't got an OBE, by the way, as well, which is quite something.
But Shaq, you would agree though that, look, even though fine, it's just part of the game, that the other promoters are always going to diss you out. Is always going to be, trying to kind of pull you down a few notches because it's not your fighter. That's just part of the game. Like, for example, look, Frank Warren's always kind of trying to downplay Joshua, isn't he? But when Joshua took a loss,
you don't see Joshua going over to Frank Warren, do you?
Did you see the public turn on Joshua after he took a loss, the same way that they turned on Amir Khan? I think it was, you can't even compare the two. I think the way, as Nas said, it's completely disproportionate.
Because in his first, well, that's easy to say. In his first 15 fights, Anthony Joshua blew the competition out the window. Yeah, he blew it out the window. All of them, all 15 of Anthony Joshua's first 15 fights, he blew them out the window, man. That Khan did not have that. He didn't have that. He came up against a very, very powerful puncher in Brady's Prescott. He got on the wrong end of that and he lost. But we can always, anybody can tag that as just, being a younger pretender at the time. When you get to the levels where he was when he fought Danny Garcia, that is a very crucial point in how you can swing, these big offers into your career from there. He's not a prospect anymore. He's a contender from that point onwards. He pretty much was the two-time champion of the light welterweight division. He was like you said, stripped of the IBF, got reinstated the WBA. He moved on. He was looking to unify again with the WBC. Sorry, he was looking to get the second belt with the WBC with Danny Garcia. He lost it. He's lost his chance. He's lost his chance where we knew at that point in the narrative was that he was on a route to get to Mayweather. He didn't get it. He lost out. Those things have been playing, can easily be spun in the wrong way, to slander who he is. Chinny Khan, Papadom Chin, knocked out a lightweight, knocked out a light welterweight. These are the kind of narratives that promoters and people are pulling in order to build this kind of narrative that we don't really rate Amir Khan as a fighter. Therefore, we're not going to like him as a fighter. We appreciate what he's done for charity.
I agree with you, charity. I mean, I hear what you're saying, and I think that's definitely a contributing factor. But I don't think that still justifies why people are so desperate to see him knocked out. Let's face it, majority of a significant percentage of the boxing, especially in the UK, I'd say more so than any other place, are desperate to see him knocked out, and they will. For them, it makes their day, and that's what's kind of a bit unjustifiable, isn't it? When these other guys have been lost, like Joshua and these other guys take losses, I don't see any desperation from the public to see them get knocked out again. I mean, am I right?
Look, let's draw a line under this one. I think it's glaringly obvious, and you've both talked about it to some length now, that there's an undercurrent of disproportionality when it comes to some zeal within the fabric of British boxing society, where they want to see Khan laid out on his ass. It's just that simple. More so than someone else, more so than a Brook, more so than anyone. It's just, and it is what it is. Yeah, I don't know if it's some remnants from previous generations, former fervor of colonial arrogance. I don't know. It is what it is. There's no getting away. There's no getting away from that. I'm sure someone could do some empirical evidence by looking at the proportion of headlines in his favor or against him, and then compare it with the top 10 other boxers over the last 20 years. And
in the UK, I think the UK, and quite right, and I think the UK should embrace him as one of those fighters that you're only going to get once in a generation.
Jack, it's finished. All that's finished.
Is an enigmatic fighter, and he's got that in him, and you won't find it again.
You're not wrong. What he should have done was done what the Cubans do, which is never turn professional. You know, he should have turned his back on the Western world, so to speak, from a sporting perspective. He rematched Mario Kindelan, who was like a 3-time Olympic gold medalist, who would have been a multi-weight a boxing legend. He bettered him at the age of 17. They talk about the silver. He's actually a gold medalist. He beat him they had that final one-off fight televised on the BBC, which never gets mentioned, and he bettered him, and people were shocked that Mario Kindelan never fought again. He literally boxed the Cuban into retirement, which never gets mentioned. At that point, he should have just quit and said, you know something, I've been a world level champion in the amateurs. I've done the Olympics. I've beat one of the greatest ever amateur boxers of all time. I'm done. Thank you very much. But anyway, look, that's by the by. Look, just to wrap this up, should we get into kind of summaries and predictions? And I think
predictions. Yeah, I was going to say we need to. No one's sitting on the fence here. Come on, you have to call it. You know.
Well, I mean, for me,
the predictions. Go first? Yeah.
The predictions are, kind of it's now a case of, when we make these predictions, we really can't go on what's in the heart, what's in the head, and we can't get emotionally invested in this now. So we really have to kind of assess and weigh up what we've discussed here. And I think what we've discussed is that the nature of these two, from having this rivalry from day one of professional life, has now come to the boil, and what they've done over that time has to be very much considered the resume. What skills have they always brought to the table? And I think that, we're always going to say that inevitable word, timing beats speed. Accuracy is greater than the footwork on the speed.
It's those kind of things. Precision beats power, timing beats speed.
Precision beats power, timing beats speed. We have to look. That's the consideration. That is the logic that's never been flawed in boxing ever. It's for me. I don't think Kell Brook's got a lot more in the tank than Khan, just by that little bit, just by that tiny bit. I just think he has something about the way he has gone about his fights and conducted his fights that doesn't make me feel he's always ever really been in it to win it. That edge and that finesse, I feel, is lies with Khan. And if Khan just has that discipline that I think he never really had with the previous trainers. He had it with Freddie Roach, I think, to some degree. And I think with that, if he brings his mind back to revitalizing his career again, like he did in the wildcard gym, if he's done that with Bomac, and I feel that he's taken himself away like he did in LA, that's going to play a big part. I think the way he beats Brook is very much late stoppage. My final thought on that, and my prediction, is Amir Khan wins by a TKO late.
Okay, fair enough. Well, my final thoughts are this. I think the whole Kell punch resistance debate, I think that's been overplayed somewhat. I don't think it's nowhere near as bad as what people are saying. But then further to that, he is the bigger guy as well, and Khan is not particularly big puncher, is he? He's never known to be a KO puncher. So I think he'll handle Khan's power all right. I think. I also think that a few years ago, I think this wouldn't even be a question for me. I would have said Kell Brook all day long, because I just feel stylistically it plays into Kell's favor. He's a natural counter puncher with some pop, who and obviously that's Khan's diet. It's his kryptonite, so to speak. So I think, for me, I think Brook's got enough left in the tank to be able to handle Khan's power. Okay, and here's the other thing for me, which I think is key as well. I think he's just more desperate to win. I think the guy is way more desperate to win this fight than Khan is. I mean, I'm not saying that Khan isn't desperate to win it, but I think it's life. This is, like, for me, if Brook loses this fight, I feel like he has a breakdown, and he might have some serious mental health problems. That's how I see it for Kell Brook. Whereas if Khan loses it, I just think, yeah, fine, it'll be be pretty shitty for him, but he'll get over it. Like, he'll be all right. Do you know what I'm saying? So I think, based on the fact that Brook's way more desperate to win, which should seem through the fight, I'd say I reckon he'll be able to overcome those tough moments. And I think stylistically, the fight for me has always been in Kell's favor. I've still got to give him that. I've got to give it to him. I have to say, just being honest, that's my honest opinion. I'm going to have to say Brook. However, Khan, he gets up if he gets hurt. In the past, unless it's
how's Brook going to do it, Sully?
Khan does get up. He carries on, and I think he's old and he's a bit smarter now. And I'm hoping that he does again. If he gets hurt, he'll be able to kind of get through those tough moments. So I'm probably going to go against most people now and say Brook on points.
Wow.
Because I think nearly everyone I've heard so far saying it's not going to go the distance, but I think they both so desperately want to kind of win and not lose this fight. I feel like they'll make it to the end, and yeah.
A bit controversial for me, but I think you might have a point there. Nas, I've got to get it, man.
Might be stupid, but that's how I feel.
I'm just not saying that. I'm just saying, like, I'm not seeing that from Kell. But
Nas,
I
think the bottom line is, I think stylistically, it's in Brook's favor, and I think he's got enough left just to kind of summarize. And I'm going to have to go with Brook, and I think it'll go the distance. But I wouldn't be surprised if it didn't. Do you know what I mean? But let's face it, we can't. It wouldn't be a massive surprise if it gets stopped at some point. But
this is what it's all about, man.
I think he's got the determination and the experience to guide him through the fight, personally.
No worries, Sully. Nas, I know this is very difficult. It's such a 50-50. It can hit the heart, it can hit the mind, it can hit the soul, man. We've seen these guys from day dot, and we need to have some kind of closure right now. It's come to that point. We've come to the boil. How do you see it, Nas? How do you see it,
man? We'll be coming back on Sunday to review this, by the way. Just saying.
And it's going to be a solid review. We're going to be either shocked, we're going to be loving it, or we're going to be in tears.
I think the key, some of the key kind of areas of the fight, key factors are definitely Khan's feet. And is he able to kind of not just come in with the raids, but kind of hold his ground and then just get out of the way just in the nick of time and sustain that. I think his feet and his ability to, how he likes to box, the Malignaggi fight, the Maidana fight, the Kotelnik fight, some of the other fights that we mentioned earlier. If he's got some of that, if he's got 80% of that in, he needs that at a minimum. He can't be flat-footed and hold his ground, and he's never good at doing that anyway, because then he gets put down like against Julio Diaz and stuff. But that's a key element when I visualize it. And another thing I visualize, which probably doesn't go in Khan's favor, is the clinch. I think Brook is a master clincher. He knows how to close the range and come in and put his underhooks in. He wraps up both elbows. He knows how to frame with his forearm off your neck. And he does it so naturally and glides, and he's smooth with it. Khan basically is an infant when it comes to clinching or posting off the neck or going around the back and the corner of a fighter. He's just not got it in him. And that's a worry, because if he had that in him, it would be, this could be like Andre Durrell against Carl Froch way back when Durrell actually won on points, but they didn't give it to him, where he could just outbox him.
That was a robbery, yeah.
Yeah, and it could have been one of them, but because Khan's not shown, and what he does is Khan just squares up in a clinch, and then also what he does up against the ropes, he might lean sideways and do his little Mayweather-esque on the ropes, but his legs are still square. And he's always done that, which I find it so bizarre, because at some point, you need to be able to give yourself a yard just by body movement, not, just by lateral movement, not with the movement of your feet. Unfortunately, again, Khan doesn't have that. If Bo Macklot have added 10-15% to that element, the clinch element, I think it really, really helped.
So you think that's going to be a factor in the fight, clinching then?
Massive factors, clinch.
I always had it as more of a chess match, and I felt like it was probably.
I think the chess matches have a opening, middle, and an end game per exchange. Per exchange is a kind of an opening, middle, and final chapters to it. And the final chapter is the clinch and how you come back off it and what you can do. And Kell Brook is amazing if needs be. It might not be getting hurt, but if he's getting outworked, outflustered, too much volume in his face, Kell Brook will just wrap him up. Both arms, one arm, back of his head.
But don't you think Khan will be looking to keep it on the outside, though? I don't think he won't want to hang around in there for too long. I hope he doesn't hang around in there for too long.
Yeah, Khan does weird things in there.
Sorry, anyway, that's so sorry. You were giving your prediction anyway. I didn't mean to kind of cut you off in it. Go ahead.
Sure, but it's a good point though. But that kind of up close and personal and living there, it's a very difficult thing for Khan. He ends up spinning around, giving his back. Yeah. People start pop shotting him and all of this. I think that's a big factor. But I think. In terms of my prediction,
I can tell you're torn, man.
I'm massively torn.
It's a very, very big moment for Nas now. He's trying to. You're articulating it so perfectly, and you're going to get to the final stretch. I know
you've got to keep it objective, though. You got to be objective about this.
I am.
I know it's hard, but you got to keep it real. There.
Okay, I'll keep it real. And look, I've got enough love for the Winkerbank gym. Yeah. All the stories of Harold Bomber Graham schooling Chris Eubank Sr., Ryan Rhodes, the original Spice Boy, Prince Naz, of course, literally grew up on him as a boxing flipping. That was a nutrition for a best part of a decade. Johnny Nelson, all these guys, even Kell Brook, man, is a top fighter, and I love that whole persona of the Ingle gym and just that whole journey. Love him. Amir Khan obviously followed that journey. Massive fan. So keeping it objective, look at the knockouts. Khan's been stopped by a guy with, at that time, 93% knockout ratio, who had about a foot and a bit on him. That was the longest guy he ever fought. The British Prescott thing's a bit of a misnomer in my head when I play it out again, because it's almost like, do you remember Marco Antonio Barrera losing to someone called Junior Jones, Poison Ivy Jones?
Yeah, I didn't watch it.
Lost to him twice before all the Eric Morales and the Marquez and all them fights. That was his boogeyman. Yeah, he lost to him on points once and got sparked out by him once. This was the
Nas is giving his age away here, and Nas.
There's a point here. The point is when you're not accustomed to fighting rangy, gangly fighters, regardless of what top level you are, it's very easy to get picked off. And the disparity between Marco Antonio Barrera and Poison Ivy Jones was similar to Amir Khan and British Prescott. And you never ever saw anybody tee off on Khan like that again, maybe apart from Algeria, but Algeria never had the power, but still got those weird looping successes when you think, hang on a minute, how is he getting caught by these shots? That's his boogeyman range. So I don't take too much in the British Prescott. Put that to a side. 2 knockouts left. Danny Garcia, who put Eric Morales into flipping orbit, literally sent him on a spin.
Sure.
And Canelo can kill a horse by looking at it. Forget anyone else. So they're the 3 knockouts. He's had nobody, and he's fought Maidana, Zab Judah, some other notable guys with some decent digs on him. Lamont Peterson's he's got a fair whack on him, can grind you down. So the people that he's been stopped by, and he's I know sparring, but he's shared the ring with Pacquiao. He shared the ring more recently with Crawford. Shared the ring with Sean Porter, the Benavidez brothers, and his whiskers have been intact. Yeah, I know sparring, and then the length and breadth of Britain have all sparred him. They've all sparred Khan behind the scenes. They all know him. So is Kell Brook of the category that he can put him away, or is it just a flash knockdown like a Julio Diaz or a Willie Limond? Yeah,
Samuel Vargas as well.
Samuel Vargas, yeah, but that's when he got cocky, didn't he? After he got his own flash knockdown. But I think
we can agree that Crawford's just special, isn't he? We can't really see too much into that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I don't lead. That's Bruce Lee. He doesn't even exist.
Yeah.
The kind of character character on the game that you get when you've clocked all the other levels, and then he comes in. He's not even part of weight divisions.
Pound for pound.
He's a true pound for pound. True pound. And I think a KG 1 and 2 rounds.
Go on, Nas.
Khan kind of speeding it out for the first 4, 5, 6, maybe a flash knockdown. And then depending what happens on the clinch.
I like where this is going.
I think Khan on points.
My man.
I think Khan on points will take. And do you know what? I can't be objective. I can't. It's I
am intrigued by the fact that you both chose the distance. The distance is not there for me. These guys got nothing like that in the distance. The legs are not the same anymore. They were going at weights.
True,
they ain't gonna go that far. They're not gonna. They know themselves they ain't gonna go that far.
I think
this is why I feel someone's going to stop.
Yeah, that's sensible.
I would not be surprised.
It's a sensible point of view. Yeah, I give it.
Sorry, can I just say I would not be surprised if in the first 3 rounds Khan put on an absolute clinic, an Amir Khan clinic. Because look, I love Amir Khan, right? But he's not that pugilistic intoxication that we started this whole talk from. He's an Amir Khan pugilist. It's a very different type of pugilist. He's not Eastern European. He's not the Cuban. He's not US. He's not a Queensberry Rules Brit kind of ABA. He's got a very unique style. I can't equate him with no one. But his version, I think he might do a number on him, like literally like a "what is going on here, sir" type of number for about 3 rounds with the sheer speed. Because think about it, who is he? Amir Khan has out-jabbed Zab Judah. He's out-jabbed Malignaggi. Yeah, he's out-jabbed Canelo. And he's when it comes to just gauging your distance for about 3-4 rounds and just out-jabbing you, there's very, very few people can contend with that.
Let's say Kell Brook's jab is equally as potent as Amir Khan's, though. I mean, let's not forget he was out-jabbing Terence Crawford. I know you said Crawford's a slow starter, but nonetheless, Crawford's got the 5-inch reach advantage in Brook, and he was still managing to.
How were the exchanges? Sully, how were the exchanges happening? It was when Crawford creeps in, he inches forward. They do the little movements, and then he inches forward, literally inches forward, and then it's kind of the back foot timing. So he draws you in, the no tell on the shot. Yeah, that's how his jab was effective. But his other jab, where Kell Brook used to have a razor sharp jab where he could leap in and just hit you from halfway across the ring, and it used to be shocking. And he used to double up on it. It's been a long while since Kell Brook's done that. Been a long while. I can't see him headhunting and zoning you down with a jab.
I think it'll be more of a counter. It'll be a counter jab where he'll be looking for Khan to initiate the exchanges, and then he'll be countering him and catching him in between shots. That's how I see it.
It's very deliberate. He lulls you in. He's got his head over his back foot. It's a nice little base, and he just pretends and he holds the arm there. And there's he shouldn't be called Special K. He should be called No Tell Kell. Yeah, because that's his shot. There's no tells on him. There's just
no tell Kell.
That's what and right at the beginning when we were talking about styles and what stays and what goes, that stays. That stays, and that's in his favor again. But because Khan's starting from further out and not going to kind of inch in and just kind of get his shots off, go back out of range, there might not be enough distance for him to let go of his shots.
I agree with that, but I would say, yeah, and if you're talking 6, 7, 8 years ago, when Khan had blistering hand speed and combinations, you're right. I think Kell might have then struggled to then adapt to that speed and time his shots with that version of Khan. I don't think he's as quick as that anymore. And I think as the fight goes on, at 35, I just expect him to slow down, especially in the second half of the fight. And I feel like that will play into Kell's hands personally. That's how I see it. Unless the weights had, unexpected, damaged him unexpectedly, and Kell himself is feeling it. Who knows? Maybe he himself will be feeling it in the second half of the fight because the weight does favor Amir Khan, doesn't it? So Yeah, you know what? As we're speaking, I'm starting to change my mind. I'm not gonna lie, I just change it. But
Yes, yes.
I'm just gonna stick with what I said. I've always thought Kell Brook was gonna win this fight. I think now they're not they're past
Sully,
their
I
prime,
didn't.
and
Sully,
they
when you
won't
said that
beat it.
earlier,
Really,
I was shocked, Sully, when you said,
right,
"Oh,
right.
5 years ago, you'd had Kell Brook." 5 years ago, I would have had Amir Khan. I would have
But the
always.
reason, yeah, the reason I say that is not just because of the stylistic thing, is because at that point Kell Brook wasn't a damaged fighter. He was unbeaten. You know, he could take a good shot. He was bigger. He was always a stronger, more powerful guy. And obviously his reflexes and everything, his boxing skills were razor sharp. And as good as Khan was, I still felt he made too many mistakes, and Brook would have capitalized on them. And I probably would have caught him and put him away. But I think um, I think at this stage of their career, I don't know. I feel like because they've both deteriorated somewhat, maybe they won't land as clean. Maybe they won't be able to, you know, do as much damage as they would have done 5 years. They might be able to land more shots because okay, the reflexes might not be the same, the legs might not be the same. They can't move their head as quick, but I don't feel as if the the accuracy and the actual timing will mean their shots will land as clean, which means they might be able to actually take a few more of them because if you know where I'm coming from, they won't actually be able to land as effectively as they would have done in their prime, if you know. So therefore, they should absorb their shots a bit better. But yeah, who knows? I mean, maybe Kelly's shot like Bomac was saying, he's got 4 rounds in him. Who knows? You know, maybe Amir Khan will get clocked early and hard in the fight, and he won't, and Kell will just swarm him and just put him away. It's one of those where I can see lots of different outcomes, and I understand each one of you. I'm just going against the grain a little bit by saying it's going to go the distance, which is, yeah, I'm surprised a little bit. I'm saying that myself, but I just think, yeah, I think Brook wants it more, and I think stylistically, it's a fight right now that's in his favor. But anyway, look,
This is a fight for the century, boys. So
it's been good,
you know,
man. It's been good.
we can eulogize about it, prophesize about it, criticize about it. What's definitely for sure, we're going to be talking about this for years to come. This has been a very good podcast from all of us today. I think we've contributed so much. I think this is a fight for the years. This is something that's going to close the book on, British boxing for some time now. These two coming together. We've got some of our greatest ever welterweights there.
You feel
Kell
like this
Brook,
should be the
Amir
official Khan Brook preview.
Yeah,
ahead of the rest.
This fight, we're literally less than 24 hours away now from the fight, and you know it's going to be an absolute barnstormer. I've been so proud to have called this preview with both yourselves, Salman Sadiq, Nasser Hussain. You know, it's been on the ropes boxing, and we're going to come back with some more